Yo, 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 what's good, Spur in the building? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Kueen Talk. For those of you that are new here, welcome. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, that like button, leave a comment. Let us know what you think of this episode. Today's special guest, y'all, is Dr. Alissa Bey. Let's put some respect on it.
Thank you, Bria.
Welcome, Melissa. Thank you for coming on here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Dr. Bey. Can I call you Dr. Bey? Or wait, do
You want
what?
to?
No, do you what? You don't want the doctor on it yet, or you just like it's all
I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's very weird. It's been like 4 years, but it's weird. Okay, honestly, I don't like whip out the doctor unless I'm in a room full of like very professional, like prestigious white people and they're like trying to, act like I don't know my shit. So, and then I'm like, I'm Dr. Elizabeth.
Hey, I know that's right. I know that's right.
But otherwise, I'm just Alissa.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we'll get into that specific topic that you just said though for sure. But why don't you give the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Alissa Bey. My pronouns are they and she. I identify as bisexual. My ethnicity identifies Black American, and I currently live in Long Beach, California, but I lived in Wichita for a very long time and very much love the Wichita community.
Yes. And that's where you and I connected,
Yes.
back in Wichita. I think it was through Glisten, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, it was good to see. I think you actually told your story. I don't know if I asked you to tell your story like on the when it was COVID, and I think we did it like online maybe.
Yes, it was it like National Coming Out Day?
I think it was National Day of Silence.
National Day of Silence. Yeah, Day of Silence. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty dope to get connected with you.
Yes, I love Glisten, still do. Still connected to them actually, but definitely met good people there.
Yeah. So. What do you do with them now?
Excuse me. I'm on the board in Glisten, Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually picked up a part-time job because it's very expensive out here, so I had to pick up a part-time job moving like to LA County. So I work for Glisten National, just like a contract position, just doing some data analysis and stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, still very connected. And
that's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
I love Glisten.
I see that they got some things going on. I just got to save the date actually sometime in October. It was a save the date.
They're doing a lot of stuff.
Will literally just texted me. I'm in like a group with him and Liz and a couple other people. So
Will's
that is exciting.
Great.
Yeah, I like Glisten. Glisten gave me this. Like without Glisten, I don't know if I'd be here right now. Like in this journey, because that was the first time I had told my story. So Liz actually made me comfortable to do it. And so that was the first time I had like told my coming out story and my journey. And
oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the one a year previous to that one. Because I was there for 2 years. But yeah, it was in person, had me up there crying while I'm telling my story. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But it was like so healing afterwards. I was like, geez, I've never done this before. But so.
A good cry is always healing. Hopefully.
It got me out of my comfort zone. It got me to meet people like you. So I'm glad we're connected. And so you're in LA or you're in Long Beach, right?
Yes, but LA County. We're like 30 minutes from LA, but Long Beach, yeah.
So what took you out of Wichita?
Yeah. So what took me out of Wichita and what brought me to LA. Same thing, but like different things. I move a lot in my life in general. But whenever I graduated, I went to Wichita State University, graduated in 2020, done with my education, formal education, and my partner went to OSU, Oklahoma State University. So we moved to OKC. We moved to Oklahoma City, and that was during COVID, so she didn't have to like commute or anything. She's a therapist at school to be a therapist. So the next year, we lived there for 1 year. The next year, she had to move to do her internship. So then we moved to Florida, Gainesville, Florida. Lived there for 1 year before she graduated and needed to find a postdoc. I stayed in Gainesville for the next year. She moved. She had a mentor actually from WSU as well that worked at a university out in, it's not in Long Beach, but it's close to Long Beach. It's University of California, Irvine. So she moved out there to do her 1 year postdoc while I stayed in Gainesville. And then, but she like likes the beach. So she's like, if I'm going to live in California, I'm going to live by the beach. So she moved to Long Beach and just did like the 1 hour commute every day. And then I work remotely. So I was like, wherever you end up, like whenever you get your big girl job, I'll go there. But I'm such a community person. Like I was so like, we would live somewhere 1 year, make good friends, and then have to move, live here 1 year. And then, so I was like, wherever you get your bigger job, and like, I'll be there, but I don't want to have to like keep moving.
Yeah.
So then I moved to Long Beach in November of this year or November of last year. And have been here since then. So yeah.
Awesome. So you just been traveling around with her wherever,
following her around like a little puppy. I don't mind though. I like living in different places. Like we live like literally like a block from the beach right now. Like we lived in OKC in Florida, like so many diverse places. And as much as I like love, having community and stuff like that, I just also like have enjoyed the diversity of places that we've lived. So it's been an adventure for sure.
Yeah. When you've traveled these different places, what does the community of friends of yours look like?
So it's different in different places. Do you mean look like in terms of identity wise?
Yeah.
Okay. I have had no issue making queer friends.
Okay.
That hasn't necessarily been intentional either.
Yeah.
So every time I move, I get on Bumble BFF, and that turned out really good in Oklahoma City. I have friends that I still talk to. Met one friend and then met another friend, and turns out we all like matched with each other. And one of the friends has like a partner fiance who's a woman, so they're both queer. And then like we all hang out, so we're like a little queer community, and still talk to them to this day. Good friends with them. In Florida, which I feel like people would think like, oh, like how do you find queer community in Florida? But it's not, especially in Gainesville. Gainesville's like a blue county. It's a college town. You throw a rock and you hit a gay person. It's really not that hard in Gainesville. There's a lot of like, there's a big market scene, like a lot of local vendors, like they'll have a Valentine's Day market and it'll just be like street vendors. And a lot of them are like younger, maybe like college students. A lot of them just happen to be queer. Like they're selling queer stuff. It's not a queer event. They're just all queer for some reason, whatever. I don't know. Like we call it like Gainesville, like gay.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yes. So I actually joined a gardening group there. and it was like gardening. You like learn to grow food. You don't have to have any skills or knowledge or anything. You learn to grow food, you produce this food, and it's given back to the community for people who have signed up if they are like experiencing food insecurity and stuff like that. And it was just awesome. We just get to watch the food grow, like have community every Sunday morning, talk to each other. I don't know. And like for some reason, I don't know if gardening is like a gay sport. I don't know.
Not a
But
sport.
you know, gardening is a gay sport, but everyone there was queer. Like there were a lot of trans and non-binary people, and very white though. Like that's something like specific, like not very diverse racially.
Was that in Oklahoma City too, or just?
Yeah, in Oklahoma City, it was very white, like queer people that I met. In Florida, a lot of white queer people that I met. Like I still have that friend group, and we still talk, and we're all in a group chat. And there's one person who's indigenous, like a person who's Jewish, like stuff like that, but not very like just ethnically diverse. Like everyone is like gender non-conforming and trans and very like a lot of queer diversity, but yeah, very white. So Long Beach is the first place I've ever lived in my life where it is very easy to find spaces that are queer, like BIPOC specifically. Like I went to a freaking only Black, only women, only queer karaoke night like a few months ago. Can you imagine?
You went to?
Yes.
Wait, I think I know who you're talking. You went to?
Really?
They do that, like they host this. This is like a thing.
They have a podcast.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you were in that space. That's dope.
Yes.
That is dope. Yes.
And, like, but can you imagine in Wichita that it'd be like 2 people would come, like, but it was so fun. And I've missed some of their events lately because I've been out of town. But like, it was really healing. Like I was like they were up there singing like old like church songs and stuff, and I was like, this is crazy because in a white queer space you would never find like people who know like gospel songs like as a community, but then like in Black non-queer communities you would have that, but then it typically might be people who are religious where they like aren't accepting of queer people, and it was just like to have this all together, and it was only like women and non-binary people, like no men allowed. So it was super healing to be like, oh my God.
I've never been in a space like that before. Ever. Where it's like all woman. Because like I've experienced WeHo though, like going down there and experiencing like that diversity. Like it's different, like you said, in Wichita, like I'm trying to get something like that in Wichita. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to create it, but like as of right now, no, like you wouldn't, you don't see that.
Not for lack of try. I know there's been efforts too, but I don't know.
Yeah, but so is it good to see you don't see yourself leaving there, huh?
No, not necessarily that I don't see myself leaving. It's very expensive to be here, and it's very expensive to be here. Like we have a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, and it's like I get parking tickets like every week. I'm used to being in Kansas where there's no parking tickets, there's no street cleaning. Like there's a lot of city life stuff that I'm just not used to. But I think it's an experience. Like I think moving here, I've always looked at it as an experience. Like I want to do like everything while I'm alive. Like you got to try everything once kind of thing. So it's an experience, but like me and my partner recently talked about like we wouldn't mind moving back to the Midwest. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Even though you've like went to a space, you found like, and you've seen people that you connect with, that you identify with more than you ever have, why do you still feel Midwest?
So for me, like on a personal level, community is really important to me, and I'm an extrovert. I find friends everywhere I go, but I think I'm not even just craving community anymore. I'm craving like familiarity, like the my loved ones that I already have relationships with. Like I take my friendships very seriously. Like my loved ones, like I just they mean so much to me, and I put a
Mm-hmm.
lot into my relationships and stuff. Um, so I think I'm like craving like familiarity of like being close to the community that I already have. Um, I think for my partner and I, just like in general, I think maybe more in a broader sense, just like familiarity. There's just a lot of stuff here that like we're just like I don't know, not used to. Like the driving is rough. In Wichita, there's no traffic. Again, the parking tickets, those suckers are like $70 a pop. In my ADHD brain, I'm like definitely like having ADHD tax right now with forgetting to move my car, stuff like that. Her work is like an hour away. She has to drive.
Mm.
Just different things. Like there are a lot of good things about living in the big city. Like I've never been able to walk to a grocery store before. There's now 2 grocery stores. I take my little basket and, wheel my cart down and come away with like fresh fruits and vegetables. I've never been able to do that before. It's easy to access nature because like the beach is there, the mountains are there, a lot of good things, but maybe if someone had grown up here and like their community was here, like right now if we need someone to watch my dog, we have to like pay a place to do it, and then I'm nervous. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's my baby, someone versus like someone who has like their mom that can like, house sit or just stuff like that, like have a
Yeah.
friend to come over to do XYZ. We just don't have that here.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense. That makes sense. And you spoke about just like the connections and community here. Is your family back here in Wichita, or are they in Kansas City? So
my family is everywhere.
yeah.
My family is everywhere. My family's always been everywhere. I mean, I have a grandma that lives in Oklahoma. My mom lives in Atlanta, but she's also lived in Texas, and we grew up in Indiana. Aunt lives in New York, Ohio. Like my family is not centrally located. My partner's family is in Wichita,
Okay.
but it's not even necessarily like biological family. I think it's actually good to have a bit of distance from them at times, like just to we're like young adults, we're learning and growing and like being our own people, like exploring our identities, exploring who we are. I think it's good to have a little bit of a distance, but for chosen family, I think that's where like the familiarity, like it'd be nice to have like like friends and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So
Yeah. And you said you grew up in Indiana. I thought you didn't you
I've
wasn't in
lived a
Kansas
lot of
City?
places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I've lived a lot of places. I was born in Kansas City. We moved to Indiana when I was really young and kind of grew up there until college. I wanted to move back to Kansas because I never really got to experience that as home. But my brothers were always like, oh, Kansas is so great. They had very fond memories, but I was like
Hmm.
3 when we moved. So I was like, I want those fond memories.
Yeah.
Wichita State was like the cheapest place I could go. We didn't have any money to send me to college. So it was the cheapest place I could go in Kansas. So I was like, ended up getting enough money to pay for my first year. So I was like, I'm going to go there versus the other schools were way more expensive. So, but Kansas is the longest place I've ever lived because I went to undergrad and grad school there. The longest place I've ever lived is 8 years. Other than that, I've just moved around so much as a kid and now. And yeah.
Yeah. So now you just want to come back home and just plant, sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want
That's
something more familiar. I don't know. I don't like the term settle down. I'm like, I always want to be
yeah.
exploring in life, but I think my soul is like craving something more
Hmm.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's you've almost been there years, so
Yeah.
do you foresee yourself like moving back soon, or are you guys gonna stay there for a while?
Um, We don't really have a timeline. We kind of
Yeah.
even like recently just talked about
Oh,
it
okay.
too. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like I feel like my soul is kind of like craving like my like being around my loved
Yeah.
ones. And she's like,
You've been
yeah, yeah.
you've been gone for a minute. You've been
I
gone
know.
for a minute. I
I
thought you
know.
were still in Oklahoma until I was like researching. I was like, oh wait, she's in Cali now. Like I didn't even know you
Yeah.
even took yourself all the way over there. I was like,
I
dang,
know, I know.
that's
I don't really
nice.
like post about it either. Like I know some people like post when they move and stuff, but I don't
Mm,
really. So it makes sense that like people
yeah.
wouldn't know and everything. At some point, I want to live like internationally,
Oh,
maybe for a little bit, but
yeah. That'd
settle
be
with
that would
travel.
be dope.
Yeah.
You mentioned like it's good to get have some space in between your family. I'm kind of like the opposite. Like I'm just like, man, that's what keeps
Oh,
me home actually is the family.
oh, yeah.
How are you with your family? Like are you pretty close?
Um, I am. I want to say I'm like close with my mom. Therapy has allowed me to like maybe think a little differently about that. Like, what does closeness look like, and like, what does a close relationship look like? But I want to say I'm like close with my mom. My siblings and I aren't very close. I have 3 older brothers. Um, we're not like we probably talk every week like, "Hey," or whatever, but, we don't have, like, a history of being very, deep or supportive for each
Mm.
other. That's more happened in adulthood, and I think also just a lot of, like, childhood trauma that we were both maybe, I think, processing in different ways. Like, I recently started to talk to my siblings about, like, oh, like when this happened, like what was your perspective of this, and like learn their thoughts. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like, or I'm the youngest. So like asking my middle brother, like, what was your perspective of this? Because like I was so young, of course it's going to look differently for me. So we just started to get in those conversations, but I wouldn't say that historically we've been really close. I grew up with close friends who I called my sisters. One of my best friends, and we like met in second grade, and then I moved, came back, and she has 2 sisters, so like I call them my sisters, and I'm fairly close to them. My extended family depends. I have one aunt that's like my liberal aunt in New York. That's very affirming,
Okay.
does her like damnedest to make sure she knows like you are affirmed. I love that you're queer. That's part of who you are, stuff like that. But my family's very religious, so none of the other
Okay.
ones say anything
Okay.
like that. So
Okay. I was going to say you made it a point to say like that is the liberal aunt that is on your side. So
yes.
for your and you didn't mention your father, but does is your mother like uh,
Yeah. My okay, so my mom and dad were married for like I don't even know, like I want to say 6 years or something like that. They were like, married, standard, like church going couple, whatever. And then my dad was like, I'm gonna join a cult. And so he's still in that cult. I have like access to talk to him, but I don't know. He's just very into the cult, and I don't it's like odd to me. So I'm like, I
okay.
don't really want to like have a relationship with you because yeah, but he exists, he's there, like I have his
Okay.
number, he reaches out, but
That's so
it's
okay. My oh my god, my mind. I just
yeah.
watched the show on Netflix and it was talking about the dancer who's in a
Yes, Devin
cult.
M.
Yes.
I love cult documentaries. I am a cult girly, like for real.
Well, I'm I could
It makes
probably
sense, right?
yes.
I
Oh my
love
god.
cold documentaries. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, but you still have access to him like if you wanted to talk to him
if I wanted to, I think he probably wants to talk to me more than I want to talk to him. Because I was also really young when he decided he was going to go in the cult. I think it was like 2. And part of the process is you have to leave like everything behind. Either your family has to join you in it, or you like have to leave everything behind. And so
Your mom
he
said, "I'm not joining a cult."
yeah, no, literally. So he was like, I have to leave like our family to go save the world, is what he said. And so he like took a step back. But then also, like, my mom got a little freaked out because he like came over one day and he was like, I want us all to go to heaven together. And my mom was like, I'm leaving immediately. That's why that's why we moved. I know. I know. That's why we moved from Kansas City the first time to Indiana, because my mom was like, you are not about to kill us all. She like took us in the middle of the night and was like drove to her family's house and was like, yeah, no, that's like, and she also said that it was in the 90s. So it was like when some that had just happened to some family, like the parent had like killed all the kids or some crazy shit. So she was like, I'm moving us across the country and you will, like, she didn't tell anyone where she was going and she just like picked us up and left. She's like, you will not be murdering my children. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's a story.
I know. I know.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. You hear about it all the time, but just like I like on TV, but never like for
Yeah.
someone connected to you, like, and
Yeah.
your dad's
Yeah.
like still a part of it and stuff.
Yes, he is. He's out there thriving in the delusions of the cult. He's very much like, I don't know. He's in it. So
Yeah. So does he know anything about you? Like you have a partner and stuff like that, or
okay, so we were in Kansas City actually one time for my partner's birthday, and my aunt on that side had died. I don't know any of his family except for there's one cousin that reaches out to me, and he was like, I'm in town for my mom's funeral. Your dad is also here if you want to see him. Like I hadn't talked to him in like, years or whatever. And my partner was with me because we were in Kansas City for her birthday. And Kansas City is like where my family, like, that's where my parents met. That's where we were all born. And the cult that he's in is Kansas City is like a hub. Excuse me, it was a hub, like I think in the 90s. So it makes sense that he was there. And so then I met him. He met my partner too. My partner is a woman. I'm not sure if I said that. But the thing is that the cult is it's very pro-black, but it's also anti-non-black.
wait,
So
what?
yeah, so they're very, very pro-black. But like also white people are very much an issue, and I think like non-black people are an issue. I'm not too sure on all the details, but it's very pro-black. So I'm not sure
So
if
a
like,
majority of the people in this cult are black.
yeah, I don't think any non-black people are. I don't think you can be in it if you're not black. Yeah. Um, so I'm not sure if when he met her, it was more of an issue that like we're gay or that she's non-black. My partner is Filipino and white.
Okay.
So, but you would look at her, honestly, in Wichita, people usually ask if she's Mexican because there's a, large Vietnamese and Mexican population there. So, but you look at her and you probably wouldn't guess that she's half white. So my guess is that he wouldn't have guessed that she was half white, but she's some kind of like POC. That's probably what you would guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what was more of the issue. Is like, okay, my daughter's dating a woman, um, or that she's not black. But I don't know.
Yeah. In these
Yeah.
documentaries, I don't usually see black people. So for it to
Yeah.
be,
Uh-huh. All
I'm
black
shook.
cult.
Yeah.
So it's the United Nation of Islam, not to be confused with the Nation of Islam. Like the Nation of Islam, I think, is like a legit like religion and stuff. but they broke off, and the United Nation of Islam stands alone, and they're like, we're very into child trafficking and like abuse and all that stuff, and we're gonna break off with this religion. So now they do all the culty stuff that they do. But I think the other religion, I don't want people like confuse it with that. So yeah, they broke off from being like from a larger like Black group. And yeah, there's an episode of it on, oh my gosh, what's that show? The woman from King of Queens who was in the what's that cult with all the like sea stuff?
The
I think.
scientific
Yeah,
Scientology.
Scientologist. The woman who hosts it, she was in King of Queens. She was like the wife in King of Queens, and she was in Scientology. I don't remember her name, but she has like a series, and UNOI, or United Nation of Islam, there's one episode. You should definitely watch it.
I'm definitely watching it. I'm
In that
watching it tonight.
Yes, that episode is actually when I realized what it was, because my mom had always, like, we grew up and my mom was like, yeah, your dad is like, you know, in this like this organization, and it just doesn't seem safe. Like, she tried to like be very careful about how she described it, but then I saw it on there and they were like, yeah, this is a cult. They are like involved in child trafficking. Like, they don't believe in like Western medicine, and they just be letting kids die and like stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is what my dad said. I was like, she wasn't playing. She would describe it as like, it's culty, but she never said like, this is a legit cult, like this is dangerous. So I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have you text me that information for sure.
Yes,
I definitely I am definitely about to watch this, especially because I know somebody who knows somebody that's in there. Like,
yeah,
that's wild. Like, how have you like navigated it? Like how do you cross? Like, you watch a whole bunch of cult shows now. Like, so like obviously like.
I was into cult shows before I knew that he was in like a legit cult. I just think that anything like, I want to say counterculture. I don't know if I would describe cults as like counterculture, but anyway, I think anything like counterculture is interesting. Like, I used to watch a lot of Taboo as a kid and stuff like that. Very thin line between a cult girly and a murder mystery girly. I'm not a murder mystery. Not a murder mystery, but give me like cult or, you know, stuff like that. I've just always watched those, but I never really had like a relationship with him because he joined this and decided to do this when I was like 2. So I just never established like a relationship with him where it's like, this is my parent. Oh, he's like leaving us. But like my brothers did, you know, one of my brothers was like 7 when he left, and he has very like, he has memory. He's like, I remember when dad like started to like get weird and like say stuff that was like, you know, like scary, you know. So I think I was a little bit too young. I just don't, and I know a lot of people are like I've questioned myself my whole life, like maybe I have daddy issues, like maybe it's deep seated or something, it's just unconscious or whatever, but like I've been to so much like therapy for it and been like, maybe something is going on, and I just don't think it's there. Like I just think like I just grew up with my mom, the community around me, and that was what that, I don't know, that was my normal. Those were my people.
Right, yeah.
So
especially it happened, like you said, it happened so young, so that that's all you knew. So yeah, that makes sense. So how was that relationship with your mom growing up? What that look like?
So like I think that like my therapist said something to me one day about like people usually think they have like issues from the parent who like abandoned them, but it's usually they have a lot of like trauma and hurt and issues with the parent who stayed and was under resourced trying to like fix everything and make it better and stuff like that. So
that was good. You got a good therapist.
Yes, I love them so much. They're like a Black, queer, woman, non-binary person. Like I love my therapist. But anyway, so I think that is true. I've always perceived my relationship to be very close to my mom. I don't know. I'm like on the cusp of like, I wouldn't necessarily say that's not true, but now I'm realizing all the things I'm like having to heal from because she was very under resourced.
Mhm.
And also like I have religious trauma, but like I like my mom was also raised with a lot of harmful like religious beliefs too. And
Mhm.
so just I don't know, she just of course did her best, but I also like I don't want that phrase to like justify things. But I would say we're like close, but like working through like hurt and trauma. Like there are
Mhm.
active conversations I still have to have with my mom about like this is the way that this was harmful or, I this is what I need to like heal and grow.
Yeah.
Those are still happening.
Well, that's good that you're first in therapy to be able to bring those
Yes.
conversations to your
Love
mom and like have
therapy.
the because those conversations are tough, you know,
Mhm.
and parents they're not always receptive of that. Like, can
Yes.
be very what's the word? Just defensive about things.
Yes.
With it's all I try my best.
Yep.
Uh how has that navigated for you? Like, do you feel like um you guys have grown since doing that?
Yes. Depends on the area, depends on the conversation. Um, Particularly with like queer things. Um, yeah, my mom was not great when I told her. But she has done a lot of growing since then. A lot of growing. Like she's like starting to ask me about like what pronouns to use for like she's like, "Okay, so if this person doesn't identify or if I don't know this person's gender, like what pronouns would I like stuff like that."
Yeah,
I'm just like,
that's nice. Yeah.
yes. I do so our issue with the queer thing is purely religious. My family
Mm,
is religious, will always be religious. That's fine. They're Christian. Um, but they there's a lot of like microaggressions, like things like, "Oh, I don't judge. I like leave it up to God." But like you would never say that about a hetero couple because you don't
yeah.
believe there's anything to judge about a hetero couple. But like for me, you're like, "Well, I'll leave God to judge you." Or like, love the sinner, hate the sin type of stuff. My family is very like mm, they are not one to like throw the Bible in your face. They are not gonna like tell you about yourself. They're very like um
I think the comments that you just said, those two say it though too. Just like
yeah,
um they say it without
saying it. Yeah.
directly
Yeah.
saying it.
Yeah.
Oh.
There will be a lot of like or this has been my experience throughout time. It's ebbed and flowed a bit, but like changing of conversation, um like the way that I dated a guy before I dated my partner. I dated a guy in college and brought him around the family, and um, it's very different. Like they're very
Mhm.
much like, "Oh, what do you do?" Follow-up questions, blah blah blah. Like treated very differently when I brought
Mhm.
my current partner around, and they don't think they're doing anything wrong because they're not like well, you should do this and this is so wrong and blah 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 blah. And like I'm grateful that they're not like that, but like the bar is low. Like if I'm
Yeah.
grateful that I don't have to be like
Right.
verbally abused, like the bar is low.
Right.
I don't really engage in any type of trying to like change them or anything with my extended family, but my mom, that is very important to me. And
Mhm.
like she helped me move from Florida to California. That took like 2 weeks, and we drove in the car and we had a lot of conversations about it. I'm just
It's a
like,
lot of time.
yes, I was like, I need this from you, like in order for, you know, to heal, in order for me to feel like you're actually supportive. Cause she's like, well, I'm nice to your girlfriend, like, but I'm like, but at the end of the day, you still believe that it's a sin. And because you still believe that, you treat us like it, but you just don't realize that you treat us like it. Like, you treat us like it in small ways. Like, you change the subject. Like, I can tell whenever I bring anything up about, me and my partner, that like, you have this like look on your face, like you are judging me, but you think because
Yeah.
it's not coming out of your mouth. So just stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously she's grown since then. She's like
Yes.
asking you more
Yes.
questions and trying to get educated, which is great.
Yes.
But when it first initially and you like told your mom, what was like her reaction?
Yeah. I honestly like, let me see if I can remember, because I've like tried to block it out, but I feel like I'm like pretty far from it at that point. It's not like triggering.
Mm-hmm.
Um So it was me and my partner, dude. I was the most like strategic, and had like such a plan to like come out and like make it so that my mom was okay. That's another thing, is I did everything in my power to try to make sure my mom was okay, but I didn't do that for myself, and I regret that. Um so me and my partner started dating. I knew, like, again, I'm bi, so I could date a girl, I could date a guy, I could date a non-binary person. It's a toss-up. I knew I wasn't going to tell my family unless I was in a serious relationship with a woman. Um, and I felt that me and my partner were going to be serious from the beginning, but I was like, I won't tell them unless we date 6 months. So we started dating in the summer. 6 months came. It was Christmas break. Um, and I knew this was gonna be when I told my mom. I had, like, I knew I wanted to, like, write a letter, because then she, like, stews a lot on stuff, and I knew she would need to re read the words, reanalyze things, stuff like that. So I knew I wanted to write a letter. I had all my friends, like, review it. I had my therapist at the time. Like, my therapist, like, called it like a peer reviewed coming out. I was like, that's exactly what this is. Like, I've been
Yeah.
like, okay, do you think I should say this word or this word? How should I phrase this? I printed out like all these resources. I looked up a support group in her area, printed out all these resources, frequently asked questions, like from
Wow.
PFLAG. Yeah, to give her, so that, she didn't have to like process this with me. I told her support group before I told her, not a formal support group, but I know that she's really close to my uncle and her husband, and like I was like, I'm about to like do this, and I just want you to know so that you can support my mom. um
Wow.
yeah, I was like I love my mom so much. Like, I really just wanted her to be okay. I didn't want her to feel like this was her fault. Like, growing up, like, my brothers, got in trouble a lot as a result of, all the stuff that they were going through, and were trying to like process as kids and everything. And so I felt like I had to be like the one good kid. Like, nothing ever had to be
Hmm.
wrong with me. I had to always be okay. And being gay was gonna like shatter all that, and be like, make her feel like, well, I feel like I'm a fuck up, like, 3 out of 3, whatever. So I just very much didn't want her to think like she did something to cause me being gay, or that she's a bad parent, all this stuff. The letter was so like reaffirming, like, you're a great mom, and like all this stuff. And we were at my uncle's house that Christmas. And so we were staying in like one of the rooms, and I like knocked and told her, like, I, want to talk to you about something. So I went in, closed the door, opened the letter, and she's like, like, this is getting serious. She's like, am I going to cry? And I'm like, probably. And so I read the letter.
Oh, you read it.
I read it to her because I wanted like the inflections to be right, the tone to be right.
Yeah.
Read her the letter, and ooh, so this is where it starts to get fuzzy. I think she didn't say anything at first. She was just kind of quiet. And So she describes it as like, she says she felt like she got hit by a train. She told me like this was like the worst thing she'd ever like experienced. My mom's been through a lot of trauma, and like
You had
for
to
that,
drive your kids in the middle of the night to get away from a
dude,
cult.
like I'm like, that's the worst thing. But like at the time, I don't know. I'm sure it felt like the worst thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, she describes it as she felt like she was like hit by a truck. She, most, not most. Some parents describe when their kids come out like, oh, I knew already. I was just waiting for you to tell me.
Mhm.
She's like, I had no clue. Like, I had no fucking clue. My mom doesn't cuss. I'm cussing. But she's like, I had no fucking clue. Like, this was out of nowhere. Like, this is the last thing I expected. She said a lot of mean things that I like don't remember, and I like cried, went to the bathroom. I like immediately journaled after this because I was like, I'm dumping all this shit out of my brain. Like I gotta like write down like how I feel and what she said and all this stuff. I immediately like went to the bathroom and cried and like texted my support group because my friends knew I was doing this. And then someone had to use the bathroom, and I was like, damn. So I left the bathroom and went outside and was crying and texting my friends. And my like mom came out there. She's like, why are you crying? I'm like, what do you mean? You literally just told me this is the worst thing you ever heard. Like, I remember she like asked me if that's why me and my ex broke up or something, the guy that I was dating previously, which it wasn't. And she just asked me like just a lot of questions. I thought she would be more curious about what that meant for me
Mhm.
and my identity and like how I discovered this about myself, but that was not the case. It was like as if I was doing this bad thing by hiding this, and she was the last person who knew. And well, why wouldn't I just, say this to her? I mean, the why I wouldn't say it is exactly what's happening. Like you're making
Yeah.
me feel like shit right now. So, and she's apologized about that and asked me to forgive her. But I told her I would not forgive her because at that moment, I didn't perceive that she had done the work to really
Mm.
understand both why I was, well, I think she knew why I was hurt, but like, maybe like overcome the beliefs that had made her respond that way. Like,
Mm. Yeah.
that she believes that being gay is bad. I did not feel that she had done the work to overcome that. So how can I forgive you when you still think being gay is bad? So that's on you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you said that you would have done it. You regret the way that you did it. What would you have done differently?
I think I would have probably maybe mailed the letter because
Mm.
I regret her first processing experience to be with me. That was very hurtful.
Mm.
Like whatever she was feeling, the initial things that came to her mind just got like vomited out at me, and like you're talking about me. Like I wish that would have been done with a different support person.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I think
I
that's
I have like I feel like you went above and beyond to
I
give
tried.
resources and a support group. Like you literally laid it all out there. Like
Yes.
that's a lot to do. Like,
Yeah.
and I know like in this process, we do always like think about whoever we care about most, who how they're gonna feel. But you took it to another level. Like you like definitely just like made sure everything was in line so
Yeah. I
they had the
tried.
resources. Yeah.
Yeah. I love her. Like I wanted
Yeah.
her to be okay. So much so that I put her being okay over myself being okay. And then we ended up both not being okay. So
Hmm. Yeah.
so yeah. And then
How did you
oh,
get through it?
um I don't know that I am like through it. It's
Mhm.
still, that's like the one thing, if you ask any of my best friends, like that's the one thing that can like make me cry at any time, is being like, I'm not sure if I'll ever like fully get the support of my mom to where she's like, I don't think being gay is bad. She's very nice. She's nice. She's, her and my partner are very alike. I could leave them in a room alone, but like, I don't know that I'm like through it.
Mhm.
So I think it's just gotten like I know how to like deal with it better. I did a
Mhm.
lot of actually, you know what? I did a lot of trying to like change her and say things and like do things. Um and then I actually in California joined this support group, this therapy support group that was for, this is also very specific, queer people of color. I think queer people of color who are trying to set boundaries with their families. Very
Oh,
specific.
yeah.
And I joined it because I was like, I need to maybe accept the idea that my mom will never support me in the way that I need. And I need to learn what I can do to be okay about that, because it's been 7 years since I've been with my partner. So she's had 6.5 years. And like, she has made a lot of progress, but that core belief that like
Mhm.
being gay is not okay, I'm not sure she will ever get over that.
Right.
Even though like I've tried to do like my whole family is black, right? So I try to do a lot of comparing to like, okay, what if a white person was like, I'll be friends with you, but I think being black is inherently bad, like stuff like that. I try to
Yeah.
do a lot of like analogies and stuff like that, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't seep through. So recently, and I'm still like in the process of this, being trying to come to the conclusion of like, if my mom never supports me in the way that I need, how can I support me in the way that I need? Like, what can I do
Mhm.
about that? So,
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you like if it were the case, and would you be okay? But you're going to a very specific support group
yeah,
to set those
yeah,
boundaries.
yeah.
And I think boundaries are good though. Like,
Yes.
um, I think from my understanding of your story, like you have thought about everybody else um before yourself. So it's like time to think about Dr.
Yeah.
Bay.
Time to think about myself. That's very true. I need the
Mhm.
people pleaser in me to die a slow death because
Yeah,
I have to like truly care for myself.
definitely have to. I wanted to go back to the code switching though.
Ooh,
Um, I feel like we got to bring that back up just because.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So you said earlier on in the podcast that you don't identify as yourself as you should, the Dr. Bay that you are, Dr.
yeah,
Alyssa Bay, only in the settings of white people that you feel like you have to.
hmm
Um, can you just like just why do you
yeah,
feel like that is?
yeah. Mm, like maybe like the base of it too. I've never really. I think it's great that like I got my PhD and stuff, but that's not like a huge, like one of my best friends, there was like these questions we were asking each other, and one was like, what's your proudest accomplishment? And she's like, I know that most people would say that you might think that yours is like getting your PhD, but like I know that's not, because I know you. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just not me. Like I'm very privileged to have done that. I'm very happy I did that. It took a lot of hard work, blah blah blah. um but I also like, just I don't know, I like learning. I had a lot of access to resources, a lot of access to like equity resources. I it's I don't know, it's such an inequitable system. It like could have been anyone. I'm not saying that I didn't work hard or whatever, but I just it's an accomplishment, but I don't know.
Girl, you better pat yourself on
No,
the back.
seriously though. No,
Hey,
seriously though. Like I had a lot of like privilege that other people didn't have. That doesn't mean I didn't work hard. I did.
right,
Like grad
yeah,
school is traumatizing for
yeah.
real. Um, but it's just not like the standout thing about me.
Mm-hmm.
Versus I know some people it is. It's like this is like I'm about to put this on my Zoom background. Like,
Yeah.
but also, I work with a lot of people who have their PhDs now. So it's like I don't know, we just don't like refer to each other like that.
Okay.
But like for example, like I'm a researcher. I did these interviews with like folks who were in hospitals. Like they weren't doctors, but they were like they like work with doctors often, and all of them are white. So I was like, this is a case where I would introduce myself as like Dr. Bey. Also, it's kind of in our training, like in community psychology, which is what I got my PhD in. It's like you we're trained to like work with communities and in a lot of those settings. Like if you come in introducing yourself as Dr. So and so, they're gonna be like, no,
Yeah, okay.
no, we
Yeah.
do not relate to you at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like a mix of things,
Mm-hmm.
but I also do feel a lot of not imposter syndrome. It's the thing whenever it's like you feel like you have to stereotype threat. It's like where you feel like you have to do better because you're a certain minority, and then you like get like anxious and like end up doing worse and like stuff
Yes.
like that.
Oh my
Um
gosh.
in either like white settings or all male settings or whatever it is. So that may have to do with also like why I use it. But then also I just feel like their microaggressions be flying, like
Yeah.
for real. And sometimes I just feel like I have to like whip out my credentials.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like there's assumption that I like might not know something or like over
Yeah.
explanation of things, and I'm like, buddy,
Yeah.
I'm a new career professional. Like I've been in the field for less than 5 years, but like I know my shit. Like, come on. I don't know.
Yeah. I
Mix of things.
yeah. It's all of what you mentioned,
Mm,
but I think like out of like you mentioned something that I even do. It's just like overcompensating things of just like making sure I'm not the black person you think I am.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
and
yes.
so and I've like
Yep.
I've been trying to do better at that of just like just
Mm,
being myself. I don't have to like hold my receipt like clearly so you can see like out the door so you don't think that I freaking sold this stuff. Like I'm
yeah.
gonna put this in my pocket. Like if you ask me about it, like okay, but like there's just like certain little things that I do to make sure people know like okay, I'm not
Yes.
I'm not
Yes. I feel that. I'm very conscious of being perceived as like the angry black woman or not as knowledgeable. Usually I'm in like sweatpants and like a t-shirt. Like I'm not like in like a suit or some shit, you know? Like I just um one of my friends who recently passed away, she had like chronic illness, and she talked about the chronic illness she had was considered like a black disease, like a sickle cell. And so she talked about the way she was dressed when she came into the doctor's office, that would it was so clear, like determined like how she was treated. Or when she said I'm Dr. Mays, like it was a whole different thing, because
Mhm.
doctors are used to dealing with black patients who, usually aren't like popping out PhDs and stuff like that. But she had to like state like, oh, I'm in school to get my PhD. And they like it's great. The quality of like treatment would be
Mhm.
different. And that is scary. Like that is scary. So I just feel like sometimes it's in my head, but sometimes it's like not.
Mhm.
And even to the most well-meaning people, like sometimes
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah. No, I hear you though.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on that though. Like it is a big accomplishment. Um and
Yeah.
it does take a lot of work, so you definitely earned that. So kudos to you.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Now you
Thank you.
and now you're able to work from home. Like you're able to remotely work, travel wherever you want to do, and
Yes, actually.
so
Yes. Yes.
hey, let's
Yes.
go, let's go.
Yeah,
Oh
thank you.
yeah, and like it's so dope to like have that freedom too, to just to
Mm,
be able to do that. Like I would
mhm.
love to just be able to go where I want, pick up and go as long as I got a laptop.
Yes, it's an absolute privilege, especially now because I think so many places are trying to go back in person. It's a huge privilege. I'm
Mhm.
really like happy to be here, and I don't ever want to work in person.
Yeah, I mean, you
So,
got your degree in 2020, so it's like
yes.
right when the pandemic, so
Yep.
it was remote. You started remote,
Yep.
so
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you figured it out though, and you've navigated and
Yeah.
transitioned. So
Yeah.
doing well for yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Bria.
You're great. Is there anything like a part of your story that I missed that you want to dive into?
I don't I don't not anything that I can think of.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a good sign. That's good for me. That means okay. I've hit a lot of points.
Yeah.
Um, I uh, I wanted to ask you though, just like being a bisexual,
Mm.
and navigating that. Do you feel like when you go to some spaces too, you hear things like about like the queer community that they don't think um
Mm.
you're a part of, so like they say things or whatnot?
Um, you know what? It's more in queer spaces that I hear
Mm.
stuff about bi people. Yeah, because I think that straight people are just like maybe kind of like oh, it's bad to talk about gay people. Like whether they have homophobic views or not, they're just like you never know who's in the room. And I don't really in professional spaces say much about having a partner, even though my work has been really great about it. And I usually try to clock the space I'm in to mention whether it's safe, like, oh, I have a partner. And people are usually like, oh, she gay. But it's not uncommon. So I think also maybe that might keep like more hetero spaces, like people in hetero spaces, like in check, like, okay, we're not going to talk about the gays here. But in queer communities, sometimes I go to this party called Girls in Wonderland in Florida every year, and it's a huge sapphic party. It's like a pool party, night parties, just like 4 days of just partying, dancing, whatever. And I don't know if it's just Florida, because people come from all over the country. I don't know if it's just that space. I don't know, but they like don't think that anyone there is like bisexual. So like every time I saw someone wearing the bi flag, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm bi too!" And they're like, "I thought I was the only one here." I had a huge bi flag on my door, and someone was like, "What is that flag?" And I'm like, "I feel like this isn't very uncommon flag." Like, and maybe that depends on where you're from too, right? If you're from
Mhm.
a rural part or like some place where like you just don't see that, maybe I'm being a little too quick to judge. But like I don't know, they just were like there were many instances where they would talk about like where they would talk about identities other than like lesbian identity. Like they
Mm.
would talk about like bisexual people or like non-binary people or like trans women. And I'm like, hold up, like you don't know that people in this room don't have those identities. So yeah, I don't really get it as much from the hetero spaces, but more from the queer spaces where they just assume a lot of people assume I'm a lesbian.
Mm.
Which what it depends if I correct them or not, depends on the space and the time. But yeah, more queer
Yeah,
spaces,
that
which is
is
interesting.
interesting that you say that, because I think like within the queer community, like there is like those stereotypes of just like people
Mm-hmm.
like put people in boxes, and I'm learning to take myself out the box of
Ah.
what this lesbian stud is supposed to be, right? Like this masculine, always presenting like try me if you want to
Yes.
type. Like
Yes.
no, like I got this femininity in me that I like to express a lot more now that
Yeah.
I've grown and realized like it's okay. Like I can still say I'm a lesbian and I can still
Yes.
be this way. Like it's okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm
I
learning
love
that
that.
myself for
Yeah,
sure.
I love that. I think in California it's a bit different too. I don't think I've experienced that here because people like go hard. Like I've met people with pronouns I've never heard of here. I have met people with identities I've never heard of here. I not joined, but I'm like do a lot of stuff with this group called Queers for Palestine, and they're very um like I just learn a lot of new stuff from them, to be honest, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like identity. A lot of people have identities that I'm just like, I've never even come across this before. And it's just like a learning experience and stuff. So they go hard for like they're not about
Yeah.
to like bisexual is the like least of their work. They're like, we want to make
Yes.
sure you get like these pronouns right or like this thing right or whatever that is new to me. So they're teaching me a lot
Yeah.
of stuff. But
Yeah. This podcast has like taught me a lot of stuff too. Just like
yeah.
constantly learning and
Mhm.
realizing, like I said, we don't have to put ourselves in this box that people
Yes.
try to do. It's just I'm my own
Yes.
person. I navigate how I want to navigate. Whether that checks off some boxes, okay, but
Mhm.
it might. The boxes are everywhere.
Yes, it's like the term like some people use the term like queering blah blah blah, like when you queer something you like make it so that it's like not like what people would assume or like the norm or like whatever.
Hmm.
It's like you can be whatever you be. I think I or whatever you are. I think people like use the same term of like cripping something. Like when you crip something, you like make it so that it's not like the standard model that we have now or
Hmm.
whatever. So I feel like queering anything, like queering identities is just like you don't have to fit into the standard box. You can be whatever you want to be. You can identify as lesbian and also be like, I like to be the little spoon, you know? So
Yeah.
just
Yes.
yeah.
Definitely. Definitely
Yeah.
different. I just want you to be like tell the audience like what do you want to leave the audience with today?
Um leave the audience with today. Definitely like protect yourself first. I mean, I wish someone would have told me that. That's it. That's all. Just
Yeah.
like whatever you need to do to like protect your like telling your support system or like if you feel like I don't know that this is going to be a great reaction and I don't want this to happen right in front of me. I need this person to react away from me. Do that if you need to. Also, like you don't owe anybody shit. Like you also like don't have to tell people to. Like if you feel like it's not safe or you feel like if it's like a message that the response is going to be more volatile like than if they find out whatever, you don't owe anybody shit. Like you don't, that's one of the things that like my mom and I like butted heads about is like, it felt like she felt like I owed her this. Like I had to tell her this. Like I was keeping this secret. You don't owe anybody shit. Like just, I don't know, protect yourself. You owe yourself a lot. So protect yourself as much as you feel is right for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Can it be political?
Go for it. Go for it.
Free Palestine.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah,
That's it.
that's
That's
it.
it. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Alissa Bey, for joining me on this podcast.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. You have been showing me support since I posted on the
Love this
socials.
podcast. I love it so much. I haven't been as good as watching like lately, but I'm just like I watch every episode. I try to like them and like
Yeah,
comment
whether
stuff.
like you like all the stuff I put on the socials and stuff like that.
I
So
try.
yeah, that's showing support too. So like even just liking this stuff, yes, if you like it, it gets pushed more. So like you're helping without
Yeah.
even like knowing. So like
Yes.
it's all the
Yes.
support definitely matters. So like you've been
Yes.
there you were like one of the first people to support me. So I just really
Oh.
appreciate that. Um and taking the time out of your day to come and tell your story. And it was a unique one. I ain't gonna lie. I like
Didn't think you were gonna come in here talking about cults, did you, Bria?
no. No, no. So it's like, man, that's. I need you to text me that so that I can definitely watch that show.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, like it's unique. Like this was about all these different unique stories. Like Queen
Mm-hmm.
Talk, that's what it's for, and hopefully people watch this
Mm-hmm.
relate, and can get educated on some things. And yeah, if a
Yes.
parent's watching this that is having a child come out to them, the reaction
Mm-hmm.
is going to be different, hopefully, after seeing this. And that's the goal. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
Wait.
Yeah. But thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tremendously. I appreciate you so much.
Thank
And
you for doing this. I know this is a lot of work. I'm so glad that you do the labor to do this. This is so needed.
yes, yes, it is. And it was needed for
Mm.
me. So I knew it was needed for other people. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what Queen Talks about. But
Mm.
yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Queen Talk. Y'all, I know y'all got a kick out of this one. And we gonna make sure that y'all know what the show is too, so you guys can give this episode a watch and check this out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think of this episode. But as always, family, friends, strangers, love. Be nice.